Welcome, Sandman Nation. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the St. Louis Syndicate, and we're here with NFL Steam. Brandon, it's been another great week in the NFL. Our picks are doing a little bit better. You are still doing very well in Super Contest. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, I unfortunately a whole bunch of people did fairly well this week, but yeah, the top 12 went at least 4-1
Okay,
this week.
that's
So
really good.
so it kept everybody in line. I'm still three and a half back, but other than Cleveland just completely shooting me, um, it was a really strong week.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody out there, your picks got home, but I had the first like truly lopsided week of going 10-4. So like that's a nice
That's,
reprieve after the whole beginning of this season.
oh man, I can feel it too. I can feel it too. Hey, I don't know if you noticed or not while we're talking about it, but somebody's creeped up to number four in BHM.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Quite a nice run. There's some power there where you can really leverage that, right?
Yes, I don't know about power and leveraging, but we definitely are trying to catch some guy that's got like 1.6 million in dollars.
Hey,
I feel like I'm
hey,
chasing you, man.
one good week and one bad week, it, it really you can close that gap.
Yeah,
You
so
know, it's all
exciting
about
stuff.
using the secret powers of leverage.
Well, hopefully they're not paying too much attention to my picks. Because if you look at week 11, I really didn't do very well in our quick hit picks here, taking Washington, Baltimore, and the Chiefs. The Chiefs, obviously, we both talked about that. We really kind of felt Buffalo was going to be the one, but we just can't bet against an undefeated team like that. And the history was there. So I'll take that one.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about Washington. I'm really disappointed in how they executed. I'm still personally not a huge believer in Philly, but they've really shown some things. Maybe sneak preview. They may be moving up closer to our top five.
Sirianni makes me want to pull my arms off and throw them at somebody. Like if they had any other coach, I I would just be leaning on them.
Yeah.
But I just never know when the next time he's going to do something stupid is.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of resemble a Wookiee, I guess, if we're pulling arms off and, going to our Star Wars reference, but, we got
Uh-huh.
the whole Wookiee thing going. Um, all right. We're not going to talk about our top five movies or anything. You want that? You got to have to go over and see the Inner Sandman podcast. But
Absolutely.
those guys will talk about your favorite movies. We'll talk about Wookiees occasionally. Pittsburgh, are they for real, man? You had a really interesting take earlier when we were talking about this. I like Pittsburgh because of the 3.5. I played them. At the three, I didn't like them as much. I liked Baltimore. I clearly lost here, won there. What are your thoughts? I thought they looked okay.
After thinking about it from when we recorded last week until Sunday morning, ended up taking Pittsburgh at 3.5 is my biggest pick of the week. Um, and it felt like it was that perfect spot for Baltimore to come in and Pittsburgh to give them a hard time.
Yeah.
And watching that game, it was stressful the entire game. But the thing with Pittsburgh is that this number one ranked defense is going to do the things that you need them to do. It's just that their offense is not real. Like it is smoke and moonballs. Like that's all it is. If it hits, perfect. George Pickens might be the weirdest wide receiver, and that's after AB. Like I don't know how you can get weirder than AB, but Pickens is making his way down that road. It's
Ugh.
it's it's so odd to watch that guy play football. But him and Wilson are gonna make it hard to bet against Pittsburgh because you never know when they're just gonna get some huge play. But you know, now that they've had this huge win, everybody needs to be very careful about going forward
Mm,
over rotating on that
yeah.
because the lines are going to start reflecting this and making Tomlin a favorite, and that's where it starts getting wonky.
Yeah, it's gonna start. You can feel it. It'll start moving that direction this week. We actually see that coming up. We'll take a
Yeah.
look. We didn't put it on our Week 12 page, but on Thursday night, right? We've got this nice matchup where they're road favorites by 3.5 against Cleveland. And, conventional wisdom tells you, man, Steelers are dominating, which is how we got into this conversation in the first place. And you told
Uh-huh.
me, hold the phone. Look at what Pittsburgh did, how they won. Are we sure they're going to go in on a Thursday night, short week, to Cleveland and really
In
cover
the
that
rain
in the rain? Which goes to my
or
theory then.
snow.
The NFC North has always got that hook, play the hook. So it's not on our favorite page. Watch out for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's one that I'm gonna be looking at Cleveland really hard. It is demoralizing as that was to watch Taysom Hill just cook them for
Mm,
3 hours the other day. Um, that just it feels like one of those ones where Cleveland's not really as bad as just letting this tight end, running back, quarterback, kick returner cook them, and Pittsburgh just beating maybe the second, third best team in the entire league. But when you start playing in the rain and the snow and the wind, weird things can happen.
yeah. So watch that one. That's a game to watch, not one we're going to pick. But you brought up a good point. We'll start there. Top 5 power rankings. Baltimore
Yeah,
with the loss doesn't move. They stay in the third spot. Buffalo hurdles them from the fourth
yeah.
spot. Kansas City and Buffalo basically trade places in our opinions there. Um, man, it's difficult, right? Seeing Baltimore lose and not drop, but they still have enough in the tank to be driving that third position, in my opinion, and we kind of agreed on that.
Yeah, they played their game. They got beat,
Yeah,
but what do you like? I don't know. You just want to go, hey, Tucker's cooked and it's over.
probably
Like
not.
they're just gonna free fall because like the rest of the team did fine. We clearly the Ravens don't have much of a wide receiver core.
Yeah,
Welcome to 2023 and 2022 and 2021 and like Lamar's entire professional career, but they're gonna win the games that they need to win to get to the playoffs, and then we're gonna figure out if they can figure it out in the games that matter.
yeah.
That's really all it comes down to. That they're going to be one of the top four teams when it gets to the end of the year, and it's just whether they can perform.
Absolutely, and sitting them right there in the middle of our top 5 is probably not a bad spot for them. Kansas City still got some work to do. Buffalo is proven. I think clearly we both agree Detroit is just dominating people right now.
Jeez,
I
yes.
mean, it's just ridiculous. But I are they a paper lion? Are they? You just don't know because I mean, we've all grown up with this generation of lions where they've always
Yeah,
just falling apart at the end. And, we do know that their coach likes to pull some shenanigans, and he's not scared to pull those shenanigans in the playoffs either. Um,
right.
Me personally, I love watching them play. I think that they're fun. I like Dan Campbell. Hopefully they can maintain. And Sirianni made his jump into our top 5 with San Francisco's tumble. So I think the Eagles probably are the fifth best team because when you look at 1 through 5, I think we can all see those teams as competing for a Super Bowl. If you look at what is 6 through 10, those teams are not nearly as interesting to me as teams maybe 11 through 15.
Yeah. No, the crazy thing is that those once you get down to the 10 through 15, you go, these guys are not expected to be as good as they might be.
Yeah,
So it's like surprising. Where that 5 to 10 you go like these guys are supposed to be almost elite, and then you watch them play, and you go major holes
Yeah.
in all of these teams. And like they will just have entire quarters where you just go like, this isn't good at all.
No.
Now, you look at their records and you go, hey, they're all fine. They're figuring it out. They're winning the games. But you know that like, my new favorite thing to talk about is how enjoyable it's going to be to bet against Denver in the wild card round. Like that's going to be tremendous because they are whipping people right now in weird ways. And, they'll come back to earth a little bit, but they're at like 55% chance to make the playoffs. It's going to be awesome. They're going to play a team that's way better than them and that, pretty good defense and not very good offense is going to run into a buzzsaw and they're going to catch a beating in the
I
first round
love
of the
it.
playoffs, and it's going to be tremendous.
I love it, dude. We're 10 weeks or 10 weeks from the wild card round, and you're thinking about how much money can I lose on betting against Denver?
Oh, believe me, I was standing on my back patio smoking meat and smoking a cigar and just going like watching Bo Nix throw dimes to wide open dudes and just going like, this is going to be incredible when they play an actual defense in the playoffs.
That's awesome. Oh, so there's your steam, folks. There's your steam. Hey,
That is the steam for sure.
that's massive steam. I love it. Big hardball matchup this week as we watch John travel out to Los Angeles to spend the week with his brother. The Chargers are one of those teams that are hanging out in that 10 to 15 range. They weren't really expected to be doing much, but they're just kind of hanging around and causing problems for people. What are you thinking here? I mean, right now it's at 3. If it goes to 2.5, do you like the Ravens? If it goes to 3.5, do you like the Chargers?
That yeah, yeah. I mean, that's basically where I'm at. Is that I think if Baltimore loses this game, it's kind of an astonishing outcome. But I don't see a world where they just go in there and hold down the Chargers and give them a beating. The Chargers are playing um, hard football, so I can't imagine somebody blowing them out right now. So I think, hey, if you can get to 2.5, cool. That probably leans me the direction of Baltimore. If you can find a 3.5, then that the Chargers just seem like the kind of team that's going to keep it close.
Well, and we talked about this last week, and it may have been off camera. But this was the first week. The Chargers let up 27 points in week 11. Prior to
Yeah,
that, they had not let up more than 20 points in any particular week. So that tells us that the defense has been really keeping them close into games, which bodes well for them this week against Baltimore, in my opinion. With Baltimore,
yeah.
if they can figure out how to control Lamar's scrambling and how to kind of keep that running game in check. You already said the receiving core is sus, so
Yeah,
they can keep it close.
that's the real trick, right? Is that like the Chargers run defense has done a good job and look, the pass defense did fine until Burrow threw on his cape and just started winging the ball around.
Yeah.
And Baltimore just does not have receivers that
No.
are Burrow or that are Chase and Higgins level. So they're Baltimore's going to get some points. I
Yep.
mean, Henry and Lamar are going to do their thing, but when they get to stack the box down there, I don't see them breaking huge runs
Yeah.
and big variance plays. So I think they squeak it out. Tucker, I'm sure bounces back, and they, the win with a last second field goal sort of thing.
Oh yeah. So another close one in division rival, up in Bill the Sandman's territory, Arizona and Seattle. And I think that Arizona is one of those highly underrated teams hovering in that 10 to 15 range that we just talked about. I'm going to be all over Arizona this week, unless, of course, something drastic changes between the time we record this and Sunday morning. But I just think Arizona's playing to the level that they should have played in the past couple of years had Murray been healthy. And now that he is healthy, and now that they have a true number one receiver, um, if they can continue to figure out how to utilize him and seeing James Conner run the ball hard, and they're playing reasonable defense, they're surprising people. Now, if you put them in a place where they are expected to beat somebody by 7, I'm not going to be as certain. Um,
Right.
but for right now, these close games, I like them. Now, I believe you're on the other side of that coin.
Yeah, yeah, but I can't say it's with like handicapping conviction or anything. It just feels like one of those ones where the teams are probably, if you could, root all the way down and go, what's the core of these two teams? What's the true balance of them? That it's probably a pick 'em. But I think that this is just a key spot for Seattle to be at home. Arizona just had this incredible game where they just beat the Jets to death, who weren't ready to play, and then went on a bye week, and then they get to come back after spending 2 weeks preparing for Seattle, and it just feels like one of those NFC West games where you got two teams that are pretty fairly matched. The home team just gets it done. So that's what's getting me leaning that direction. It's really not a numbers thing for me. It's more of a feel on this one.
And I get that, right? I mean, if you guys make numbers, if you handicap, feel is part of it, right? I mean, I know I make my numbers and I make my handicaps and I look at them, and I actually have a little notepad off to the side that says, "No, I'm actually going to bet here because this is my gut." That way, when I go back and look and think, "What the hell were you thinking?" I know that it was me going against the trends that were telling me how to bet, so that I could blame myself when I failed. So.
Right.
Last game on our slate, San Francisco, who's man just can't seem to stay healthy against Green Bay, who is your classic. Shouldn't they be better team right
Yeah.
now? I mean, you look at them and you're thinking, what's going on here? I was really high on them early in the season, and I don't have any reason not to be, but I just don't trust them.
I think it's just that Love's still hurt, right? Like he's just not 100%. He's not moving around like he did at the end of last year when he was playing so terrifically. And I think he's still working his way back up to full strength. But the injuries on San Francisco are just
Ooh,
they're just piling up.
yeah.
And it's not like, hey, oh, this guy's out, he's not playing, whatever. It's just Debo looks slower. McCaffrey's obviously still ramping up. Purdy looks like he got hurt last week.
Mm-hmm.
Trent Williams still isn't looking like he's 100%. You got guys on
Bosa's
the,
looking down. Bosa's a little
yeah, he's
bit.
got a hip problem. You got Fred Warner who's giving up passes like he normally doesn't. And it just, this would be a spot if it wasn't an injury thing to go the same argument that I'm having for Seattle. Hey, there's a lot of history here. These teams bang heads a lot. San Francisco is gonna, be able to figure this out because they are the better franchise.
Yeah.
But this just feels like getting under the 3. Yeah, I don't know how you don't lay it with Green Bay. This feels like one of my top picks of the week.
Yeah, no, I think you got to lay it with Green Bay as well. It just the whole thing just doesn't feel right. Um, we only got a couple minutes here before we go, but do we think San Francisco, based on what we're seeing, the window closed on them last year when the Super Bowl, that they just have gotten a year older, a step slower. They don't bounce back from injury as quick. Can they regain, or did we see the window close on them?
I think the window might have closed on this version of the team,
Okay.
but the way that Shanahan coaches, I can't imagine them not being able to like rebuild the plane on the fly. And and that like they're going to do some drafting, he's going to coach some people up, And, hey, maybe next year they're a playoff team, but they're not a juggernaut. They draft a couple more people, and then they're right back in it,
Okay,
sort of thing.
I can see
That,
that.
and maybe everybody heals up, right? Like McCaffrey and Debo aren't ancient. They
No,
just look like they're banged up, and when you get that banged up, you look like you're a little overpaid.
and
But
Purdy's young, but
well, for sure. I mean, when you find a quarterback like this, like now, look, they're gonna have to cut that man a check at some point,
hmm
which is gonna hamper paying everybody else, or he's gonna have to jettison him and grab the next piece of molding clay that he's going to turn into a quarterback. I don't know which way they go with that. It's hard to take a guy that you is Mr. Irrelevant and becomes a fan favorite and just go, we're not going to pay that guy. But
yeah,
you start running into a, you know, Dak to sort of situation where you go, hey, it's worth paying these guys a bunch of money. But if they can't perform at the upper echelon, then you're kind of stuck in no man's land.
yeah,
And that could close the window on them.
yeah, and I think they're dangerously close to that. Um,
Yeah.
I almost feel like they're dangerously close to we're going to continue to be good enough to be relevant, but not good enough to get high draft picks. And they're going to fall into that. We draft every year at 22, 23, which is still good draft picks, but 22 is a challenge, not necessarily in the first round, but it becomes a challenge in the second and the third round because there's a lot of good players that come off the board. Then as you're waiting after you make your 22nd pick before you make your whatever it is 44th.
Yeah. No, you really have to be elite.
Mm-hmm.
And, Shanahan and his group, John Lynch, all those guys, have been real good. I mean, they haven't been bad for
No.
a lot of years, and they are still finding young guys.
Yeah.
So it's either they've got a better scouting process, or Shanahan and head coaches have
He's a
been
good
good at
coach. He is.
maximizing what they are able to draft. But it it is one of those things where if they make a couple of mistakes, that window can close really hard.
Yep. Totally agree. Well, hey guys, I'm Nate. He's Brandon. Those are our picks and our thoughts for the week. Good luck with yours.
So there's everybody.